Now we'll have the presentation of José Luis Soria. He comes from Ria Financial, that he will explain what kind of company is it. He is continuous improvement manager at the company, and Ria Financial is already working with Kanban during the last 4 or 5 years. So they have quite a broad experience working with Kanban, and most recently they have been adopting Kanban for portfolio management, and that is going to be the big thing about his presentation. So please, José Luis, thank you for being here, and the stage is yours.
Okay. So good afternoon. I was thinking about the previous presentation. This is the second presentation in a row about portfolio management. It's also a company with an orange color as a corporate color. And by the way, I think we are across the road in Madrid. So it is a coincidence, but I think these kind of presentations about real world experience are very valuable, and I will try to share different aspects that we are applying in the portfolio management side. So as you can see there, my role is continuous improvement manager. It is a very lean role, if you want. It's something that I am discovering along the way, right? So supposedly my role is to keep the company moving in the improvements and in the not to stall, right, and have foster the innovation and improvements. In practice, I arrived to the company like 5 years ago, and in practice, I have been involved in very specific things that needed more improvement at the beginning. So I ended up taking the responsibility for those things. So in my daily work, I do a lot of work about project management, processes, also QA, DevOps, these kind of things. But I try to take care also of not to abandon my role of continuous improvement. So, and one of the reasons why we are getting involved into portfolio management is this, in order to keep the pace. Who knows about Ria? Who has heard about Ria? Nobody? Okay. So Ria is part of a bigger group of companies. But by the way, we are quite a lot of people. Our mother company, Euronet, is in the ATM business. Maybe you have seen, especially in touristic areas, we have these ATMs. They are blue and yellow, and this is a company which is in the Nasdaq. We are in the stock market, and under this company we have several other companies. Ria is in the money transfer segment, as you can see. I will go into that in a moment. Maybe you know about XE. It is pretty popular in online service for when you are going to change currency. This is the typical website that is first in Google. So maybe you are more familiar with that one. And also ePay is part of the group. This is a company which is related to payments and this kind of prepaid cards. You can see more or less what they are doing, right? So about Ria, more specifically, we are dedicated mainly to money transfer, to remittances, and this is a global business. So we have presence in a lot of countries, and we are maybe you know better Western Union or MoneyGram. Western Union is the first in the world by volume, and we are I would say, close to the second place in business. In Spain, we are the first in business in volume of transactions. And as you can see there, this business is mostly about people that are abroad, that are immigrants, and they want to send money to their homes. But in general, we are working with any customer that needs to send money at other country. Okay. We work across several channels. But our principal channel or principal business is physical locations. So we have both stores and we have what we call agents, which are third parties or people that have a brick and mortar business somewhere, and they have this service for the customers to send money. So the typical, maybe it is a hairdresser, a supermarket, a small shop in a neighborhood, and they are offering this service to send money through us. A bit about our presence. As you can see, we are in a lot of countries. We have 3 headquarters, or I could say 4 if I count Middle East, but the principal ones are California, Madrid, and Malaysia. And this is also where we have the whole spectrum of the teams or departments, if you want. So this is where we have IT teams working, and the rest of the departments are sales, compliance, or whatever. And yeah, it is a lot of locations also. So we have presence also in several countries with a smaller office when we need to provide service for these locations. So when I entered Ria, as I said, 5 years ago, I was thinking about what was my new role. I was transitioning for consultancy. I was coaching, doing working companies, and this was I haven't been for a long time working for a long time with the same people, the same team, and it was something that I needed to do, because in consultancy I was more like, okay, I arrive somewhere, I tell them a lot of things, and then I leave. Maybe I will go later, but it is not yours at the end, right? So I started to get familiar with the business, and for me at the beginning was like, okay, this is easy, right? This is there is a sender, there is a beneficiary. They put the money in the system, and it is basically moving numbers between database tables or whatever, right? So pretty easy, but couldn't be more wrong. I was not getting the right picture there. So this is this is a very simplified view of the flow or how the model of money transfer works. But as you can see, we have different ways for the customer to send money. We have physical locations, as I said, stores, agents, and also online services, digital services. Now we are working more in this channel, basically about websites or mobile applications that you can use to send money. But many of our customers prefer the physical locations because it is a business where we deal with a lot of cash. People, the typical customer maybe doesn't have access to banks, credit cards, whatever, and they use a lot of cash. And then in the beneficiary side, we have different ways as well. Like in some countries, we even have home delivery, so you get the money at home. We have maybe mobile wallets. Cash pickup is when the beneficiary can walk to the office and get the money there, and bank deposits as well. And we are managing to do the operations, the transactions in like 10 minutes, and it is like imposed. It is, by the way, it is less time, but we have like a security buffer just in case we need to cancel something. And there is a lot of complexity in here. And back to the map, just to show you some sources of complexity here are, as you can see, we are in a lot of countries. So a lot of things can change and can happen in any country. So one day maybe we need to change the way we are validating the phone numbers for French Polynesia. Other day is the Ethiopian government that are willing to determine the rate, the exchange rate at the moment of the transaction and not before. Of course, we have Brexit, and this is changing all our plans for the year. We have just some examples. We have, for example, closing deals with big retailers in America. So, for example, we are in Walmart, and we have this service of sending money. You can walk in Walmart. And send money domestic market in the US. So there is a lot of complexity and a lot of requirements that are coming from there. Also, about the regulations and laws, we have a lot of countries where we operate again, and we have a lot of regulations to comply with. And this is very complex. We need to, especially at the portfolio level, we have to be very selective and like to be very focused on what should be the next priority for us. And also at the work centers, where we work, there is a lot of diversity. We are a lot of people from different cultures, different countries. Because we have to provide service for all these countries as well. So this is yet another source of complexity for us. Okay, so what we did, where I am going to tell you like how we are transforming the way we deal with portfolio management, and this has been something that we have been doing for maybe 1.5 years or so. So before that, I was more focused on the team or system Kanban, on what we call the system Kanban, which is at the team levels. And the presentation is not about that. I'm not going to get into much detail, but just to give some background. When we started with taking more care of the portfolio, this part was more or less established, and teams were working in different ways. For example, we have Scrum teams or iterative teams doing iterative development. We have a lot of people working with Kanban in a continuous delivery way. We have also like cowboys, people working alone, and they are on their own, and they even switch teams on when they want. And especially in the US office, we have also like more classic project management where they are doing like they are arranging people as resources, if you want, and they organize teams along the way for projects. And there is this culture of changing people from one project to another and doing according to the project plan, right? About tooling, for example, we are using Kanbanize for some teams, and it is working pretty well for us. But the main tool we are using is Team Foundation Server. It is not very... Now they changed the name, I think now is Azure DevOps or something like that. It is not maybe the best tool for Kanban, but the nice thing is that it is very well integrated with other parts of the work, like version control, build management, release management, testing, so everything is in the same place, and for the Kanban part, it is good enough for what we are doing. Okay, this is about the teams. Back 2 years ago or so, we were, I don't know if, have you ever seen this feature factory metaphor? You can see it in there, but I think it is a good way to explain where we are in a lot of companies, and this is what we are doing for the most part. I'm not saying that it is completely different now for us, but at least we are transitioning from that. But basically, it was like taking orders, right? It is, as you can see, maybe there are people working around here and delivering things that the customer may like or not. And yeah, the portfolio part, or what we are using to feed the factory is not very defined, or there are meetings, there is guessing, there are rush because of it is the end of the quarter or whatever of the year. And so this is the way we are getting the work into the teams, right? Like pushing, okay? So if you get into a bit of detail in this article, this is all of this was applying to us. I tried to summarize what is related to portfolio management or to the source of work, okay? But for example, yesterday I was attending to the Fitness for Purpose workshop, and it is like this: we're not connecting to core metrics. It was we were not using any metric that matters for the customer. It was only important for us, but not for the customer, maybe. We have things like, of course, roadmaps, but with list of projects, and for the most part, this is like a Gantt chart with teams across here and time, and then we have all the projects, and of course we need to provide dates, we need to provide estimations and all these kind of things. The teams are being assigned to a different project at the moment they end the one they are working in. They are not participating in the upstream part, in the selection of work, in the experimentation, research, okay? And about business people, they are chasing upfront revenue, so they are like trying to secure their area, what matters for them. So it is like they are trying to secure their project and get it started as soon as possible. So and sometimes maybe they don't have like the business justification or even the needed requirements for the project, like contracts or whatever they needed, okay? So, and this is what we were using for portfolio or whatever we call that then. And as you can see, it is an Excel sheet, by the way, and it is similar to a shopping list. So it is like a low-level, more detailed version of the roadmap that was before. Like we have the teams here, we have the time, and we have the list of things that where these teams are supposed to be focused. So, okay, this is how we were doing things, and it is, yeah. I mean, one of the reasons why it is maybe at some point, maybe you are going to find the experience a bit chaotic or even a bit like not very planned or something like that. But in the middle of all of this, I am telling you, we were also growing a lot. We were hiring a lot of people. We were expanding to Asia. We were doing a lot of things that added more complexity to the thing. So this was like good enough for getting the phase, getting the business moving, but I felt that we needed more, and we need to get more organized. About deadlines, yeah, I was saying before, this is when it's going to be done is the first thing a business person is going to ask. But as I said, they were like trying to assure a date of delivery, so they could like not get delayed by other initiatives. Okay. And yeah, I saw this. This is like all of this happened to us. This is all these books were being read by the people in charge of prioritization. So maybe you have heard about IPO, prioritization, highest paid person opinion. So it was like, okay, this is the decision of the director or whatever, so we need to work on this. Really high value new opportunity. It was like, okay, we are about to close a deal with whatever company in whatever country, so we need to work on this as soon as possible, otherwise we are going to lose the opportunity to the competitors. But that was the explanation. No more no more insights about the value or whatever was going on. Zero evidence, but really arrogant. Some cases were like, yeah, well, they were providing figures even like we are going to get millions and millions of dollars or whatever, but zero evidence, right? Later we didn't see if that was true. I'm not saying that was true, but we don't know. Maybe yes, we are earning that much with those projects, but we don't really know. Works on latest fire. This is especially one symptom that has working as a feature factory is that the work is getting delayed until it's expedited, until it needs to be done because it's urgent. So we had a lot of this as well. And single management, so yeah, this kind of meetings with everyone yelling and speaking aloud and getting like the projects prioritized because they were speaking more than others. Okay, so what we tried to do, have you seen this book? How many of you have read this? Okay, so you're already familiar with this. I am going to go very briefly through the content of this. There are several approaches to upstream or customer Kanban, but for the most part, they are like the same ideas. And this is the one that is in this book, Essential Upstream Kanban. It's free. You can download there, and you can get a more detailed view of what we were trying to do. So the idea here is that, okay, as I said, we were already doing this, the system Kanban, or we were trying to do it properly, okay? But we were lacking all this part, and also this part, which is really important, the downstream part, okay? So this approach basically is about making also visible the upstream part, making it manageable, and taking it into account for planning the work and for even for selecting what to focus on and and for basically assuring that the value is taken into account in the selection. So all these graphs are in the book, but as you see, the idea is that we are like expanding the team Kanban in the upstream side, and we are using that for managing the upstream work. Also in the downstream, I will get into a bit of detail later about that. And the idea is to ease the transition here. So the problem there is that there is this is like a pull system in here, but the work is pushed to the pull system, and we are not properly managing that usually. So the idea is to have an area here where the teams can pull work, selecting from a number of options that are valuable and are meaningful for the business. And the customers, or in our case, are internal customers, but the people, the stakeholders, or whoever is needing the work to be done, can feed this, instead of pushing, they can also do a better work of selection and also of validating the results of the work. You already know about this side. This is the system Kanban, and as I was saying, the customer Kanban is about customer pull. So the customer is defining when the work is being done, because we are introducing like the acceptance of the customer at the downstream part. We are working in requests at the request level in the customer Kanban. We are using the lead time as the main metric, but the customer lead time, not the team lead time, but the customer one. And there are a couple of techniques for the implementation that I will speak a bit more about them later. And very important, we have a collaboration between the customer and the team in the co-creation. So in this area I was mentioning, they are collaborating because the team has a choice also in what to engage next, and also we are involving the team in earlier phases of the work. Okay, what we did here was to, okay, this is yet another view from the book. So this is the funnel that also my colleague in the former presentation was mentioning. So the idea is to work in opportunities, not in like requirements or things that are very defined, but we are going to assess the value of this and do an assessment of options, and then this is the base for deciding what to work on. And there is also, it can be also reflected in the upstream board, the upstream Kanban board, which may have this aspect, but I will show you like real world examples in a moment. So this is what we did. This is like a very low tech or very even, how can I say, not very attractive for the view, but this is an attempt to implement this. And this was like a very controlled experiment only in the Madrid office. So we took a whiteboard and we put this board, and at the beginning was we were using this principle about the start where you are. So we were not involving all the people we wanted at that point. Business people didn't know what is this about. We were just taking the cards for the initiatives or projects, as we call them, and putting them in the board, in the places where they were, in the status where they were, right? And we tried to reflect this flow of having new ideas, doing what the author says in the book about the synthesis. It is about creating options. So it is about assessing the value and getting more information about these ideas, so we can have a more informed decision about what to work on. And then we have a more detailed analysis, and this is where we split the work or do a more detailed analysis of what the team is going to do. And this is the point of commitment where we have the inventory of options, and the team can start pulling work from them. We have, as you can see, we have also these areas. There are, depending on the size, maybe, or on the nature of the work that is requested, maybe doesn't need a lot of clarification, and because maybe the value is very clear, or we know for sure that it is going to be something valuable. So it is going maybe to skip the clarifying part and go directly to the commitment. And yeah, the typical expected lane as usual. This is like the right part of the downstream part of the board, and this was an experiment, as I said. So we just put all the cards in there, and this is what all the teams were doing. Problem with this, yesterday I was also in the teams. In the tools session, and I agree that it is very hard to work with physical boards, especially if you are working in a distributed team. So, of course, we have, as I said before, our main office is in California, and we have a lot of teams there, more than here in Madrid. And by the way, they are supposed to be working in aligned with us, or we are would be easier for everyone, right, to work in a similar way. So this first approach was like a very local thing for just learning, and the next thing we did was to involve our partners in the United States. So easy, right? I am like the same as before, no? I am telling you, it sounds very straightforward. Sounds like very something that is better than we did, but you already know that it is going to take more than one single button to do it. So we have like maybe 4 to 5 months of meetings. I mean, not meeting all the time, but a lot of calls during that time. We have several trips from Madrid to California, from California to Madrid, gathering together all these people. And also, I need to stress that there they have a very different culture, and as I said before, they are like a bit still in the project management culture. So they are doing a lot of. For them, it is very important to have milestones, to have dates, to have resources, to have whatever you pick from the project management jargon. It is going to be very important for this team. So was a big challenge to explain them all of this, and also to get to an agreement, because what we eventually did was something that was in the middle, right, between what we were doing and this ideal of a customer Kanban, okay? But at the end, we managed to, if we take this as the system Kanban or the team Kanban, we managed to stress the importance of the upstream and downstream parts, and have them agree that we needed to work in that and to organize that. Also, this is a cartoon, but it is pretty similar to what we have in our. We have a legacy system for work items, and this is pretty similar to the status, the workflow of statuses we have there. It is crazy, and we even have things that are named almost the same as here. But so if you take the photo before with the board with a few columns, now you will understand how we ended up with many columns in the final board. But this was one of the reasons. Okay. So this was our first approach. So you can take this as the flow of work, and as the columns, if you want, in the Kanban board. So we agreed on having this for each idea or request. So this would be, I will explain in more detail in a moment, but this would be like the flow for the general one for any request. But then we were thinking about it, and would be nice to have views, like and this is something that the tools are not solving well for us, especially the tool we are using, that we are using yet another tool for portfolio management. I will tell you in a moment, but this is something that we ended up not doing. We didn't, at the beginning we had the views in the board, but we ended up removing the views because it was a lot of work to keep the views up to date. But the idea was basically to have, like, as I said, the whole flow here, and then for specific audiences or people, we can have different views of the work. For example, if you are the business person that is requesting the work, maybe you don't mind about all this detailing here. So we were just consolidating all the cards in one state for these people. For the executives that are doing the approval or doing the assessment of the value, it is even more simple. We don't need maybe not even like the backlog of ideas, but we wanted them to be focused on the conversation of what is needed to approve in that moment, just in time. Okay. And the same goes for all this team Kanban part. They don't need the details, right? And then the opposite goes for the team. They have a lot of detail in this board, in this part. But as I said, at the end we didn't do that because of the complexity. Okay, I was speaking about the executive view. One thing that we did in this initiative was to make sure that the right people were involved. So we managed to get them to commit them, to get a commitment from them to do a committee or a group of people that would be reviewing the work, all the requests. As I said, we have requests every day and coming from a lot of sources, and sometimes it's very difficult to have the people that need to be informed don't even know about the request. And something that I didn't mention before is that up to a point, maybe 2 years ago, people thought that it was IT was responsible for the prioritization. It was like, you are not working in that because you don't want to do that, and they were telling us, and it was like, no, you should. We may have an opinion in IT, but it is not our decision only. You need to speak to whoever else needs to be involved for this to happen. Okay. So as I said, we get an agreement from them to meet every 2 weeks and review the board and work in the upstream part, and and have an opinion in the prioritization. Okay. So at the end, we ended up with only one flow, and it is not. It is working pretty well. I thought it was going to be more difficult. Maybe the worst thing is that we spend a lot of time in some of the cards that are in several columns that maybe are not really important for the focus of the meetings we have, because they start maybe speaking about things that are here, because this particular card is very interesting for them, but we are maybe not focusing on reviewing the value for the project that are coming. Okay. So in these columns, we are like trying to what in the book, in the upstream Kanban, essential upstream Kanban book, is the idea of creating the options. We are taking the ideas, the requests, and we are helping the business people to detail them and to assess the value, and to, I will show you also in a moment how we do that, but we are trying to transform an idea in an option that can be then pulled by the team. Okay. We have also the part where we do the transformation into the area where the team is getting to work. Okay. The more detailed analysis and design, and we have a second. This is like a second assessment, if you want, from the technical side. This is the only one we had 2 years ago. It was only the IT director, the one like approving projects, which for me was a bit crazy. But this is now happening only after there has been like a review from business people. Okay. And this is where the team is pulling the work and where they are working. And as you can see, we don't have a lot of things in the downstream part, in the how to assess that the value is being delivered, or how is the delivery going, is it working according to the business needs. And this is something that we need to focus in the future. This is a screenshot of the actual board, and basically you have the statuses I mentioned here, and this is a tool that is called a Smart Sheet. I don't know if you know it. It's like a spreadsheet, but with some functionality for doing like dashboards and metrics and these kind of things. It is not very powerful for Kanban, by the way, but it was something that they were using in the US, and for what we are doing now is working. And as you can see, this is like the implementation of the idea of the upstream, downstream, and the customer Kanban. This is the way we were doing it. This is about how we are transitioning from requests to options, to how we are getting more detail about the work. We managed to agree with the US team as well in a form that we are like asking the business people to fill in, and this is like a bit bureaucratic, but it's useful. It's really useful in the process, because we have all the information in the same place later, and it is also in the history. So we want, if we want to see what a project was supposed to deliver, we can go back here and see it. So we still have the project idea. This is very embedded in the company. We have the desired release date, and we are, for doing this, we are helping we have people like business analysts helping the business people to feel this. So because sometimes they don't even understand some of the things that we are asking for there. But when you explain it, they are going to, usually they are going to feel the form in a pretty effective way. So this is the release date. Of course, all of them are like, okay, I want it for yesterday or whatever, but now that they see that there are more things in the board, and they need to agree. Even some of the things are requested by the same people, so they are seeing clearly that they can't ask for everything for yesterday. Okay. This is the way we are also involving the team, or implementation teams are also participating in this kind of work of assessing the value and having an opinion on the work to do. We have the business sponsor risks, and this is something that is pretty important for us. I was mentioning before that some people were like pushing things, or like getting like getting the ownership of the time of the team, because they feel that otherwise their project is not going to be done at all. So sometimes maybe there is a contract to be signed, there is some regulation to be fulfilled, and it is not even planned or fulfilled. So we are asking them to specify if something about this kind of things is needed. So we can also use that for the assessment and the prioritization. And more information. This is about sizing. The problem here is that it is mandatory for the business people. I try to explain my colleagues in the US that they are not maybe going to have a good idea of the size of the implementation of the work, okay? But anyway, we are trying to help them, as I said. So maybe the analysis is going to work with the team at this point and have a rough estimation for the priority. And then we have like the financial analysis and a couple of things about customer experience and legal compliance. Okay, some problems that we are facing, priorities, and this is more not prioritizing cards in the board, but the priorities during the process. For example, sometimes we find that people take the conversation to their part, and here we also play a lot of politics, I would say, so they are only willing to speak about some part of the initiatives, and some of the meetings that we have, they even filter out, they use the filter in the board to remove some of the cards that maybe should be addressed in here. So this is something that we need to address. We have executives in these meetings, and people, we even have from time to time, we have people as the CEO or the VP of operations or whoever, and we still have a lot of HIPPO prioritization. It is when the moment one of these people says that this is important, we are going to put the card, move forward in the board, and there is no discussion. So we need also to work in that. And sometimes we have a problem of the opposite, that we are not having meetings at all, especially if it is like high business session or whatever, and all people are busy. The board is idle for several weeks, and we are not reviewing the work because people are feeling that they have other better things to do. And sometimes it's a problem because it is work is not moving, and teams are going to work in maybe low value things or low priority things. Okay, so finishing, this is the part in red that we are not addressing so far, but we plan to do. This is very important for this customer Kanban. I'm not worrying a lot about minimal options. This is about not letting the team being starved or run out of valuable option to work on. But as I said, we have a lot of interesting projects options to do because of the number of countries we are operating in. And metrics. Of course, we need to measure things like lead time, customer lead time, and these kind of things. Now we are very focused on measuring things as the number of hours we spend in projects, and this is a challenge we have to convince all these people to switch the focus to anywhere else. And that's it. I don't know if we have time for questions.